Welcome to today's full body mobility yoga flow. If you're someone who wakes up feeling stiff with achy joints, this class may be a beautiful complement to your morning or daily routine. Having full range of motion within the body is so important for allowing us to complete our everyday activities without aches or pains. Whether you're an athlete whose muscles or joints get tight from strenuous workouts, or you're just a normal person who gets caught up in their busy lifestyle, anyone and everyone can benefit from a little more mobility practice in their life. So I welcome you to join me on the mat today, and let's experience how good it can actually feel to move our bodies. Hi everyone, I'm Chelsey. If you're ready, let's get started in today's class. We're going to start out at the back of our mats in a child's pose. So bring your big toes together, take your knees nice and wide, and walk those fingertips down, gently resting your frontal lobe on the mat. And just allow your shoulders to relax. And allow any heaviness that you may be feeling to just roll off your shoulders with every exhale. Turn your attention inward towards your breath. And just try to find stillness within your body and your mind. Now take a deep inhale. And then a long, slow exhale out, allowing all air to release from your lungs. When you're ready, we can slowly round the back and pull our hands towards our knees, rounding the spine up to that seated thunderbolt posture. And then squeeze those shoulder blades together as you drop your head back, opening up through the heart. And then on your exhale, round through the spine as you draw your hands away from your knees and back into child's pose. Take a deep inhale, rounding through the spine, pulling the arms up towards the knees again, letting the head fall back, opening up through the chest. And then exhale, round forward, guiding those hands back towards the front of the mat, resting that frontal lobe down. Let's continue this movement, slow, steady movement. Inhale up. Dropping that head back, full range of motion in the neck. And then exhale, slide yourself back down. Let's do one more. Slow and steady, rise back up. Squeezing those shoulder blades at the top as you drop your neck, gaze towards the ceiling. And then exhale back down. Child's pose. All right, we're going to tuck those toes under this time. And we're going to slowly rise back up again. And when we do, we're going to bring our knees up, kind of into this low yogic squat, stretching those hands forward. And then slowly drop our knees, bring our hands up into those cactus arms, squeezing those shoulder blades. Bring those knees back up towards your chest as you stretch your arms forward. And then drop our knees again as we bring our arms up. Cactus arms, squeezing those shoulder blades, opening up through the heart. Lift those knees up towards the chest and stretch your hands forward. Once again, this low yogic squat variation. And rise up, drop those knees, squeeze those shoulder blades. Get a good squeeze. And continue, bring it forward once again. Knees tucked towards those armpits. And slowly rise back up, dropping the knees, opening up through the heart. Excellent. And now we're going to come into an easy seated posture in the middle of our mats. So come into this cross-legged posture if you can, and bring your left hand over your right knee. And then let's inhale that right arm up overhead across the body, kind of over top of that left knee, to that nice stretch through the side body. And then let's switch hands. Bring that right arm over to the left knee and inhaling that left arm overhead, over top the right knee. We're going to continue this movement with our own pace of our breath, feeling that nice stretch through the side body. Right arm goes to left knee, left arm goes overhead, breathing life into that rib cage. Spine is still long here. We're not hunching over too much, just a nice lateral stretch. Let's do one more. Stretch it over to the left. Bringing that right hand to that left knee and stretching that left hand over. Excellent. And now take a deep inhale. And on your exhale, sweep your hands over to the front. On your inhale, draw that left arm behind the body, gaze following that left hand. Exhale as you bring it forward. Inhale as you draw that right arm back, and then forward. We're going to continue this movement, once again going with your own breath, drawing that right arm long behind the body. Exhale forward. Inhale, left hand long behind the body, and exhale forward. Continue this movement, feeling that breath through those shoulder blades and through that chest as you open up to the back. Round through, pulling that arm behind you, and then forward once again. And now let's pull those shoulder blades together for cactus arms once again. Sweep those elbows long behind the body and bring them over front, broadening through those shoulder blades as you inhale those arms up. And then release wide behind the body, getting a nice scapular retraction. Arms at a 90 degrees. Let's pull them forward, protracting those shoulder blades. Release arms at a 90 degrees as you pull them back. And then sweep them forward, broadening, pushing those elbows forward. And then retract. Inhale, opening up through the chest. And then exhale, sweep it forward, pushing those elbows towards the front of the mat. Deep inhale once again, squeeze. And if you can kind of see what my shoulder blades are doing, they're squeezing them together. And then exhale as you push them apart, widening your shoulder blades as much as possible. And then bringing them down and back. And then sweeping forward, pushing those elbows forward as much as you can. And retract. And let's do one more of this before we come into our next exercise. Squeeze and then push forward, protracting that scapula. Now let's cross our right arm over the left, bend that left elbow and the right, and come into this eagle-armed posture. Let's breathe life into our shoulders. Elbows in line with your shoulders. And we can release our arms slowly. And this time we're going to cross our left arm over our right, bend that right elbow and the left, and bring those palms together. Continuing to breathe through this posture, just reconnecting with our breath. Elbows up in line with the shoulders, trying not to let them dip. Spine long. Abs engaged. And let's release. We're going to come into a tabletop posture now. Make sure your knees are under your hips and your wrists are under your shoulders. And we're just going to start swaying the body. So let's sway our weight back and forth, moving our wrists through a little bit more range of motion. Gently guide your weight back and forth only to what feels comfortable. If you feel any type of strain, then please feel free to stop. And let's flip our palms now so the back of our hands are on the mat, our fingers pointed towards each other. And let's make a fist so our wrists are kind of coming up, and then drop back down into that flat hand. And let's just continue this movement slowly, making sure we're not feeling any pain in our wrists. Come up into a fist, bringing that weight forward, and then flat hand. And now let's release our hands, this time pointing our fingers towards our knees and pulling our weight back, feeling that stretch through the back of the wrist. Gentle, slow movements as we shift our weight back. And let's release our hands at this time and come into that tabletop posture again for some cat-cows. So let's inhale, bring our gaze forward, dropping our chest. And on our exhale, round that chin towards your chest, and vertebrae by vertebrae, round up into cat pose. On your exhale, drop, starting with the lower vertebrae, vertebrae by vertebrae, until your head is risen up into cow. We're going to continue this movement slower than normal, feeling a wave through the spine as we do so. Drop that chest and rise up that neck into cow pose, and then bring that neck, tucking it in towards your chest, puffing through the upper back and then the lower back, and then starting with the lower back, slowly bring it up into cow. Feeling that movement through the spine. And let's do 2 more. Vertebrae by vertebrae, drop that chest, bring your gaze forward, and then slowly lower that gaze, tucking your chin, puffing through the back into cat pose. And let's bring that spine back to a neutral position and rock that neck back and forth. Slowly just start moving the spine and your pelvis in gentle wavy motions, in whichever way feels good. Maybe switching sides, just feeling the movement through your body. Swaying your weight from side to side, rolling out that neck, and just feeling the rhythm of your own body. And now let's ground through that right hand as we bring that left hand up and behind the head. And we're going to drop that elbow towards the right arm and then bring it up, stretching it up as high as you can. And then dropping it back down. Inhale as you rise up, opening up through the chest as much as possible. And then slowly exhaling lower down. Once again, continuing this movement with your own breath. Slowly and steady, opening up, really seeing if you can open up a little bit wider. Then exhaling back down. We're really isolating this movement through the upper back, so we're not moving our hips as we bring our arm up. Just isolate through that upper thoracic spine. And drop that left hand down. Let's bring our right arm up and behind the head and continue this movement. Bringing it down and then back up. Once again, isolating in that thoracic spine. And then slowly exhale, dropping that elbow. Inhale, arm up, opening up, squeezing that shoulder blade. And then exhale back down. Your hips are square throughout this movement. Really isolating that movement in the upper spine. Let's do 2 more. Inhale up. Exhale, dropping that spine and chest. Inhale up once more. And then back down, and we can release. All right, let's ground through that right knee. And let's bring that left knee out to the side. And then back, drop it to the other side of that right leg. Back up and out. Do a little pulse to the side at the top and then back down. We're going to continue this movement, getting a full range of motion in that hip. A little bit of internal rotation. And then back out. Pop it to the side, of movement we don't get normally in our everyday activities. So bring that hip out, back, and down. And then back up and out to the side. Pulse that hip up and then back down. Let's do 2 more. Out to the side, back around and down, internally rotating that hip. And then back up, externally rotating that hip, and 1 pulse. Bring it up, back, and down. Nice, slow, controlled movements. We're not trying to go for speed here. Back out and around, really just feeling that movement through the hip. All right, and we're going to change sides. So let's ground through that left knee as we bring our right knee out to the side. Swing it back. And then down to the outer side of that left leg. Touch that knee to the mat. Bring it back up and out. Nice wide movement. Pulse at the top and then back down. Really trying to get your full range of motion in the hip. So go until you're feeling resistance in that hip. Swing it back down and around. Bring it up and out to the side and pulse. And then back down. Continue this movement. Really feel as if you're opening up through that hip. And out to the side, pulse, and then back down. Let's do 2 more. Out, back, over and around, dropping that knee to the outside of the left leg. Bring it back up, sweep that hip, big hip circle, pulse at the top, and then back down. Awesome. Last one, knee out to the side, bring it around, and back down, up and out. One last pulse here, and back down. Awesome job. All right, we're gonna set ourselves up for some more ankle and hip work, adding in some hamstring flexibility movements. So come on to your left knee and outstretch your right leg out to the side. Toes pointed and foot flat on the mat. Send your hips back towards your left heel, flexing those right toes at the bottom, and then rise up. Swing your body weight over into a side lunge on your right leg and extend that left arm up long, getting a nice thoracic stretch. Then drop it down, drop that left knee, send your hips back to that left heel, flex that right foot, and then rise up, straightening out that left leg as you bend that right leg into a side lunge and stretch that left arm up to the sky again. Drop the hands, sweep the weight over to the left leg, sending your weight into the left heel, flex those right toes at the top, and then bend that right knee as you extend that left leg out long, flexing those left feet now, and reach that left arm up to the ceiling. Bring your weight over, really feeling that stretch through the right hamstring as you send your weight back. Flex those toes, and then sweep your weight over into that side lunge. Open up through the chest as you stretch that left arm up and over. And last one, let's drop that left knee, send our weight back towards that heel, flex that right foot, and then send it over into that side lunge. Open up through that thoracic spine. And then return to center. We're going to switch sides now, so come onto that right knee and extend that left leg out long, foot flat on the mat. We're going to send our hips towards that right heel as we extend that left leg, and then bring it up, coming into a side lunge on that left side, opening up the right arm to the sky, and then sending our weight back, dropping that right knee, sending our weight into that heel, flex those left toes at the top, and then come back up, sweep it over, side lunge to the left. Open up through the chest as you extend your right arm, and then sweep it over once again, dropping that right knee, sending our hips back to our right heel, flexing those left toes, hamstring stretch, come up, bring it over to the left side, side lunge, and extend that right arm up long. Remembering to breathe, dropping that right knee, sending it back. Nice hamstring stretch here. Flex those left toes. Drop that foot again and sweep it over. Really open up through the chest. And let's return to center. Bring both of your feet on the mat and bring your weight over to the right side into a nice side lunge, and then walk your hands over to the left for a side lunge. We're just going to alternating lunges. As we come down, flex that opposite foot and continue this movement, really stretching through those hamstrings. Deep breath and breathe life into those legs, flexing those feet at the top and walking over to the other side. We're working our ankle mobility and our hips and getting a nice hamstring stretch. Let's do one more each side, over to the left, and then walk those hands over to the right one last time. And now we're going to come into a seated position on our mat, and we're going to form 90-degree angles with our legs. So angle your left knee over to the back of the mat, and then your right one towards the center. And see if you can form a 90-degree angle with your legs, bending those knees. And we're going to face our left leg at this time and push your pelvis into anterior tilt, lean back into posterior, and then lean forward for that anterior tilt. And we're just going to do these pelvic tilts as we sink into those legs. So let's sweep our legs over to the right side now, anteriorly tilt and then posteriorly tilt. So lengthen that tailbone down and then angle that pelvis forward, sinking into that right knee. You'll feel a stretch through the glutes. Sweep your legs over to the other side, anteriorly tilt that pelvis, and then posteriorly bringing it back, dropping that right glute onto the mat. Anterior tilt, releasing that right glute and coming forward. And then let's continue this movement, sweeping it over. Anteriorly tilt, pushing that pelvis forward. When you do this, you should feel an arch in your back, and then posterior tilt, lengthen that tailbone down, your lower back will flatten. And then see if you can just sink forward a bit more into that right knee. And then swap it over. And now just start sinking forward into those knees. We're no longer doing the tilts, we're just stretching it into the legs. Sweep the body over to the right side. Pelvis pointed towards the front of the mat, sinking into that stretch. And release. Come over to the other side, making sure you're trying to maintain that 90-degree angle in the knees. Sink it over, feeling that stretch. And release. Back over to the other side. This time, let's drop that left arm over to the right, so we're dropping that left shoulder to the mat, and you should feel a stretch in your glutes when you do this. We're going to cross it over now, dropping over to the left, and let's drop our right shoulder to the mat, stretching it over to the left side. This time you should be feeling it in that left glute and a little bit in that hip, and then we're going to come up and sweep it over to the other side, again dropping that left shoulder to the mat and sinking it in, this time feeling it in the right glute and a little bit in that right hip. Come back up, sweep it over, and drop that right shoulder down to the mat once again. Take a deep inhale and then exhale. Good. Let's rise up. This time we're going to face the front of our mats and drop ourselves onto our bellies into a Sphinx pose. So let's come onto our bellies and place the backs of our feet flat on the mat, pushing them into the mat. Let's engage our core to kind of protect our lower back and push our forearms into the mat. And we're going to take a deep inhale here. And then our exhale, we're going to push our forearms into the mat as we engage our core and pull our pelvis and our bellies off the mat, tucking our chin in towards our chest. And then on our inhale, let's slowly lower our pelvis and our bellies to the mat and extend that neck out long. Gaze forward. On our exhale, sweep it back, tucking that chin in towards the chest, rounding through the back, lifting up through the pelvis, and then slowly lower down on our inhales once again. Continue this movement, slow and controlled, engaging and squeezing that core as you lift up, and then slow and controlled, lower back down, extending that neck at the top, gaze forward. Tuck that chin in, engage that core, puff through the back, pushing their forearms into the mat, and then release back down. Let's do one more. Exhale as you tuck your chin in towards your chest, puff through the back, core and glutes engaged, and then slowly lower down back into Sphinx pose. When you're ready, we're going to bring our arms long behind the body and pull our chest and our legs off the mat in this modified Superman pose. So really engage your core and your glutes here to lift up, slowly lower down. On your inhale, rise up, pulling the chest and legs off the mat and lower back down. Inhale, rise up, squeeze those shoulder blades, engage those back muscles, and then slowly lower down. Let's do one more. Rise up and lower. This time we're going to leave our legs on the mat and only lift our chest and our arms. And we're going to alternate bending our elbows and bringing our hand behind the body, sort of reaching towards your shoulder blades. Alternate, switching your hands, thumbs pointed towards the mat. If you want, when you extend your arm out to the side, you can rotate the arm so that your thumb is towards the sky. That'll give that nice external rotation. Otherwise, with this movement, we're working that internal rotation of that shoulder blade. But if you wanted that external rotation, just rotate that arm so your thumb is pointing towards the sky as you extend that arm. I just forgot to do that with this exercise. And let's bring our arms back into center and come back up into that Sphinx pose. Recenter yourself and connect with your breath. And when you're ready, extend that right arm out long to the side, tent those left fingertips, bend that left leg behind the body over to the right, and then back down. We're going to switch sides, extend that left arm, tent those right fingertips, and bring that right leg behind the body. Let's continue alternating this movement. You should be feeling a nice stretch through your pectoral muscles, so those chest muscles, and through that hip flexor of the leg you're bending behind. And back to center. Extend that left arm, tent those right fingertips, and drop that right leg behind the body. Moving with your own flow of breath. Extend that right arm out long, tent those left fingertips, and stretch that left leg behind the body. Awesome. Let's do one more each side. Extend that left arm out long, tent those right fingertips, and drop that leg behind the body, feeling that stretch through that hip flexor. And the last one, bring that left leg long behind the body, stretch those chest muscles, and release back down. We're going to press ourselves up and come momentarily into a tabletop posture. Getting ourselves situated, we're going to tuck our toes under and then come into a downward facing dog. So send your hips back and breathe life into your shoulders as you extend your spine nice and long. Pressing those heels towards the mat. We're going to ground through that right hand and then pop that left hand off the mat before bringing it under the body to tap the right ankle, bringing it back up, popping that arm, and then dropping it back down to the mat. Right arm pops off the mat, extends long under the body to tap that left ankle, pop it back up, and then back down, downward facing dog. Continue this movement. We're getting nice flexion through that shoulder blade when we pop that arm off the mat. And when we do this, we're trying not to flare our rib cage or really bend that lower back. We're just trying to move within our own range of motion. So whatever's comfortable for you. So pop that right arm and drop it back. Pop that left hand off the mat, extend it long under the body, stretching towards that right leg. Bring it forward, flex it up, and then back down. Right arm, flex it up. Bring it over to the left, stretch through that thoracic spine. Up again, and then back down. Just moving within your own mobility and your own range of motion. If it's too uncomfortable to pop your arm off the mat, then you can just work on that going forward, and you don't have to do that in today's practice. We're just working within our means here, and also working with balance. All right, so really breathe into that downward facing dog now. Bend those knees if you can. Extend your legs up. Roll into a plank pose. And then back down, bending those knees. Explosive, come up into high plank. Rolling through the spine. Bend those knees back. Vertebrae by vertebrae, roll forward, high plank. And then send your hips back. Breathing life into that spinal column as you roll forward, vertebrae by vertebrae. Send your weight back. Wave forward as you take a deep inhale. And then exhale it back. Hold in this bent knee, downward facing dog. And see if you can pulse your left hand off the mat at this time. Strong core, strong legs, just pulsing that left hand off the mat, really working that overhead shoulder flexion. Drop the left hand. Let's try it with the right now. Popping that right hand off the mat, thumb towards the ceiling. Whole body active and engaged and strong in this pose. And then lower down, extend those legs and sink into that downward facing dog. Take a deep breath. And let's step that right foot in between the hands now. Drop that left knee. And let's rise up into this low lunge. Feel free to grab a blanket or a towel for underneath your bottom knee if you need to. Just for a little extra support so it's not grinding into the mat. And we're going to do a nice hip flexor and hamstring stretch. So try not to anteriorly tilt your pelvis. You want to posteriorly tilt, so lengthen that tailbone down, kind of getting a flattening in the lower back. Bring that right arm to the inside of the right knee and stretch that left hand overhead. You'll be feeling it in that left hip flexor. And then come down, anteriorly tilt that pelvis and sink into that right leg as you extend it. Point those toes, feeling it in your hamstring. And then slowly rise up. Lengthen that tailbone down now. Bring that right hand to the inside of the right knee and stretch it over to the right side. Use your hands to guide your pelvis forward as you sink into this hamstring stretch, pushing your hips backward, and then come forward again. Stretching that left arm up and over to the right. Really focus on that pelvis positioning, as that's how you're going to really feel this stretch through the hip flexors. And then send your weight back like you're sitting in a chair, spine long, weight forward, flexing that right foot. And then bend that knee again, stretch it over to the right arm, inner right knee. Continue this movement, really focus on that pelvic positioning and where you're feeling this stretch. Spine long as you bend forward, and then bring it back up. One more deep stretch here. Awesome. And then send that weight forward again. Sinking into that hip, weight going towards that left heel, and then release back up. All right, we're going to switch positions now. So we're bringing that right knee down. Feel free to switch that towel or blanket under the right knee now if you need to. Bring that left knee forward and rise up into that low lunge. Again, lengthening that tailbone down, so flattening that lower back, lengthening that tailbone. Left arm comes to the inner left knee and stretch that right arm over the body towards the left side. Then anteriorly tilt that pelvis forward now. Keep that spine long and send your weight back like you're trying to sit in a chair. Flexing that left foot. Stretching through that hamstring. And then release it forward. Posteriorly tilt that pelvis and stretch it over to the left side. Left arm was pressing into the left knee. And then anteriorly tilt that pelvis and send your weight back. Stretching that chest towards that knee without bending the spine at all. Come forward and stretch it over. Like I said, left hand pushing into that left knee as you stretch that right arm overhead. Tilt that pelvis forward and send your hips back, stretching into that left hamstring. Continue this movement nice and controlled. Remember to breathe through this movement. Really taking note of where you're feeling the stretch within the body. Let's do this one more time. Rise up as you stretch that right arm over to the left. And then send your hips back as you stretch into that hamstring. Breathing through this stretch. And then release back up. We're going to come onto our backs now. So slowly move any towel or blanket you have out of the way. And slowly make your way to your back. Maybe you roll yourself down while holding your knees and slowly release that spine. For our next movement, we're going to try to floss and massage the nerves that run down the back of the legs. So let's extend our arms overhead. And we're going to point our toes, leaving them pointed as we extend our legs up overhead towards the sky. Flex the feet at the top and do a pulse, pulsing that butt off the floor. Then point those toes as you bend the knees back down. Keep them pointed as you bring them up. Flex the feet at the top, pulse that butt off the ground, point the toes, and bend those knees back down. Let's continue this movement, keeping them pointed. Flex at the top as you pulse that butt off the mat. And then slowly lower down once again. Pointing the toes, extend those legs, pulse at the top like you're kicking something off towards the ceiling, and then back down. This time as you extend your legs up, we're going to sweep our arms down along the body and pulse towards our knees, and then sweep them forward as our legs come down. Extend those legs, sweep the arms along, pointing those hands towards the front of the mat, pulsing at the top, and then sweep them back down. Let's continue this movement. Sweep them alongside the body, flex those feet at the top, pulse those hands, And then back down, really engaging your core with this movement, getting almost an ab crunch as we sweep our arms down, crunch those abs, pushing that booty off the mat, and then back down, pointing those toes. It's a lot to think about. That's why we're moving nice and slow, pointing those toes towards the top. Flex the feet as you crunch the abs, and then back down. Awesome. Feel free to relax the arms now. We're going to cross that right knee over the left. Pull our knees in towards our chest, and we're just going to start doing some ankle rolls. This should be a nice little glute stretch here. Let's hear that snap, crackle, pop of the ankles now. Give them a little more love. We kind of worked them a lot in today's class. So let's just do some circles. And then slowly guide your knees over to the left side. Extend that right arm out long to the right and follow your gaze over your right fingertips. Feel free to soften your eyelids if you'd like at this time. And we're just going to start unwinding the body. And let's bring ourselves over onto our left side, keeping our knees there. And we're going to guide our hands over. So bring that right arm over alongside the chest, stretching it over to the left side, and then sweep it across the body, pressing that right shoulder as far towards the mat as you can. And then bring it back, pulling it over to the left, sweeping it long beside the body, and then extending it out to the right. Let's continue this movement, trying to keep that right knee on the mat if you can. So use your left hand to hold it on the mat and really feeling this stretch through the thoracic spine. Reach as far over to the left as you can before guiding it back over to the right, stretching that right shoulder towards the mat. And then you can return to center now. Uncross those legs, this time crossing the left over the right. Pull those knees in towards the chest, and let's start wiggling those ankles once more, maybe in a different direction this time. Just allowing them to loosen while at the same time thinking about softening your shoulders. Allowing the muscles to sink down deeper onto the mat with every exhale. And now let's guide our legs over to the right side. Extend that left arm out long and follow your fingertips with your gaze. Once again, maybe softening your eyelids. And reconnecting with your breath. And now roll onto your right shoulder. Use your right arm to hold that left knee down. Extend that left arm out to the left, and then sweep it over the body to the right, stretching it over to the right side before drawing it long across the body and extending it over to the left, pressing that left shoulder towards the mat as much as you can. Bring it across the body, stretch it over to the right like you're reaching for something just out of reach, and then bring it back across the body. Really moving and working that spine today. Opening up through the heart as you extend it over to the left. And then sweep it back over, pulling towards the right. Working with your breath in this movement. And now we can return to center. This time we're going to grab a block if you have one, or a small pillow, and we're going to put it in first position, and even a rolled up towel might work here. And we're going to try to position it in between our shoulder blades. So kind of right under our shoulder blades, you might have to work with it just a little bit, moving it to get it into a position that you find the most comfortable. If you're feeling any pressure or tension in a bad way, that means you might not want to do this exercise, or you might just want to move it into a better position. But the goal here is to kind of support our shoulder blades and allow any tension to release out of that upper back. We did a lot of thoracic spine mobility in today's class. And so we're just allowing ourselves a little bit of extra tension release using the block under our back. It also helps stretch the shoulders down a little bit more. So do a quick survey of any tension you might be feeling in the upper back and in the shoulder area. This is also allowing your neck to hang long and heavy. And with every exhale, feel any tension and anxiety just releasing out of your neck and upper back. And you're welcome to keep the block under your back, or you can also remove it at this time and prepare yourself for shavasana. If you're enjoying the feeling of the block, feel free to keep that there for shavasana. Otherwise, just get yourself into a comfortable position on your back. Maybe roll out your ankles or your wrists. Doing a quick scan of the body for where you might be holding on to tension. And just allow your muscles to relax and sink deeper into your mat with every exhale. Hopefully after today's class, you'll be feeling a little bit looser, a little bit more mobile. But you might also feel a little bit sore if you're not used to moving your body in that way. Allow your body a chance to recover and relax. And just show yourself a little bit of grace. And feel thankful for what this body does for you. Everything it's accomplished in your lifetime. Your body and you are capable of great things. Always remember that.